he's in Florida. All right. So people might jump on as time goes on, but I wanted to kind of start with something that I like, an aha of mine, because and the reason I wanted to start with this is because I don't think I realized, and I actually got an email today about people that were buying Zillow leads, right? Anyone else take note when they had said that you can say, or that they have saved our agents $28 million? Did anyone take note of that? So in one of the sessions, it might have been one of the general sessions, and I kind of went like this, I was like, what? And they broke it down very like edge by edge, right? So the average lead when you buy it anywhere, whether or not it's wherever it is, right, is $12 per lead. And the reason I'm saying this is because if we aren't using, and us even as an office, if we're not using command and the Facebook ads that we're doing, and I've just been watching those over the last few days and kind of the feedback on them, those leads are $1.91 a piece. I'm no mathematician, but the difference between $12 a lead and $1.91 per lead is incredible. Even if, because I know we're all have these little drunk monkeys that are like, yeah, but are they good leads? Right? Well, guess what? The $12 leads aren't necessarily good leads either, right? So you might be paying for them, but you are kind of still massaging those leads just as much, right? So if there's one action item in the next few weeks that I would love for all of us to do, including myself, for the Market Center, is to go and figure out the Facebook ads. And if we don't know, I know Jacob would be happy to help, and just give it a chance and see what happens with them. And really it's also about getting feedback on it too, right? Because if we don't use it, we can't really talk bad about it, and we can't make it better.
Is Mary a resource also?
Mary is a resource as well. Yep, okay. Absolutely. So that was also something.
Can I just add here, we had Joe Carmack come in and he did a killer training on using Facebook lead ads and how to get the most traction for those.
Yeah.
And that is in our YouTube videos, and you could go step by step, like put it on one screen and follow along on the other and do what he tells you to do. I know Tam Langen did that, and I think she got like 80 leads.
That's like, it's remarkable. And I think a lot of people are doing it, right? I've been watching the, command sites, like the Facebook sites and whatnot. And there's a lot of traction, and I think we're underutilizing it. So that was kind of why I wanted to start out, just to kind of put a nugget in there on, again, I'm not using it to the upward most mobility that it could be either. So it's not coming from a judgment piece at all. It's more of, hey, let's try this out together and see what we like and we don't like about it. All right. Who else has an aha from family reunion that they want to talk about?
Did you still want to talk about buying leads? Because NAR has OpCity. You've heard of that one, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. It's a 35, yeah, it's a 38% referral fee. And the leads are junk.
Well, and I think it goes back to, Jim, right? Own your leads, own your business. Yeah. And I don't even think that's about buying leads, right? That's not even about buying a Facebook ad or promoting it via that. That's, do we actually own our database?
Mm-hmm. That's the key.
I mean, if you were to ask yourself, one, what does that mean to you? Right? And two, how are we utilizing it if we own it? Right? We own a car, we drive that thing every day. We have a television, we probably watch it. We have a computer, we use it every day. If we are owning our database, what are we doing with it?
We should be feeding it every day. Like you put gas in your car, you eat breakfast, you eat lunch, you eat dinner, you've got to feed your database.
Yeah. And you know,
101.
I would love, like, I mean, part of this is for participation, right? Who's doing that to, you know, every single day? Jim.
Yeah, I'm touching them. Matter of fact, 2 days ago, I updated my list. I've got it taped up on the wall here, so it's front and center. And I went through and I'm mailing them some special articles, something of value, and texting and talking. And one of them, she just got a promotion, and her husband just got a new job. So I said, okay, looks like you guys are going to be wanting to move forward again. So we sold them a house 3 years ago. And guess what? I'm going to get another listing and another sale by just staying in touch with them.
Well, and that's, I think the biggest thing is if we have leads, right, in our database, I think we are all guilty of the fact of they know what we're doing, right? They know us, they know, and they're going to refer us. I just had a client or an agent actually come in yesterday and say, well, she's in the industry and commercial. She just knows, but she doesn't know, right? Our job is to, one, own those leads, own that business, and do kind of the job that we are hired to do, is educate, negotiate, and lead them and guide them along the way, right? That's why we're in this business, is to help people.
Well, Amy, years ago, I heard a sales trainer say, it's not the job of our sphere, family, friends, sphere of influence to remember that we are in this business. It's our job to remind them that we are in this business. That's
Yep.
our job.
Yep.
That's our job. Hi, Bill.
Awesome. Who else has an aha?
Bill Bloomberg just joined us.
My daughter. Yes. Hi.
Hi,
What's up?
welcome. Who else has an aha we want to talk about?
I was gonna say, as far as a database goes, it's no different than any other business. If you were gonna buy any business, what you are buying is essentially their book of business. Their accounts that they have that are
Yep.
generating the profits and the revenue of that business. It doesn't matter if you're buying a shoe store or a large corporation. You're buying their book of business. And it's time that agents really, we've heard this for a long time, but if Zillow intends to provide a digital service to people and we are not providing enough value and relational context to them and educating them about why they need a fiduciary at their side, then we have laid that course. We've allowed, what was Gary's analogy, the elephant to dinner?
Which I think is so true, right? You invite
Yeah.
the baby elephant eats too much, and all of a sudden you can't get the elephant out of the room. You can't get him out
Right.
of the house, without slaying the elephant, you don't get him out, right? They're there to stay. And I think we had a really good mastermind, which I know Maureen's on here. I'd love to hear if we did anything with that Zillow conversation of, combating, what does that script look like? I'm going to go with Zillow, right? What did you get a chance to use that, Maureen?
Not yet. Their house is not on the market, and I have requested an appointment with them, but she said she had to talk to her husband. Right now, I've been just trying to get my buyers in there because they only want that neighborhood.
Yep.
And I'm still getting, we're not ready for anybody to see the house right now because we're painting, we're refinishing floors, that kind of stuff. So, I have a pre-approved buyer that wants to see their house, and they're not even ready for me to do that. So,
Awesome.
Yeah.
Any other ahas that you want to talk about?
I had a couple things that I was surprised about. One was that Gary led off the entire thing by talking about Zillow for like an hour. And we talked about that a little bit, and that caught me off guard. And I think I've kind of come full circle on it. And I mean, I guess I understand why. And I think it's clearly it's going to be a talking point for the industry for a long time. And then the other thing that I
Before we move on from that,
was,
before we move on from that, why do you think he talked about it though? What was the aha around that? Like, what was the first, why is he doing that? Right. What was the realization on that piece? That was kind of a shock to you?
I think it was a shock because I know that if I pay attention to what everybody's talking about on Facebook or everybody's talking about in the media, that isn't necessarily what I need to be focused on to move my business forward. And that's why I was a little surprised to hear Gary talking about it, because in the past, he's always been the one that is telling us that that our business is what we make of it, and it's our efforts and how we're working in our own business that's going to determine the success of our business. And talking about outside factors rather than the systems and models, like that's a different approach.
So after that conversation though, did you feel, I mean, because I think there's an overreaction to anything, right? Zillow buys showing time, and literally everyone thought the industry was going to like fall to pieces within 3 days, right? I
Right.
mean, the amount of energy and conversations that were had, do you feel, because I felt like after that conversation, it was like, you know what, I feel fine about this. Like they are a player in the game, right? And yet at the same time, let's watch and keep a pulse on what they're doing. But what are we also doing to make ourselves and kind of, you know, sharpening the blade to make us unstoppable in regards to competition, right? Because I think that was what the most important part is we're all independent contractors, right? And there's always going to be this bigger thing, right? Whether or not it's Zillow, whether or not it's a different brokerage, whoever it is, it doesn't matter. It doesn't necessarily matter, right? As long as we, like you said, are focusing on our business and how do we move it forward? What's the next step? And what could come at us from whatever direction to try and stop that, AKA Zillow, and what are we going to do to combat that?
Right. I mean, I guess I took away that the antidote is continuing, like people are choosing to work with us because they want to work with us. And all along, it hasn't been about Keller Williams or Coldwell Banker or Edina Realty or Remax or whatever. People do business with agents. And if we continue to focus on those relationships, people will continue to come back to us because we are their trusted resource.
We're our own brand, right? We're our own brand. And no matter where we're at, you know, I think that goes to another aha that I had is someone goes to find you and the first things they want to know is who is she, you know, who is he, and what do they offer me? Right? I have lifelong clients that I've had since I started 11 years ago that they know Keller, right? But that's not who that it's not like, oh, you know, oh, that's what agency she's with or whatever. And, you know, it's really how we brand ourselves and what value we bring. And
Yeah,
I think that's been Gary's thing all along is who are you? What's your vision? And what's your goal and your vision for your brand? And how are we providing value to the client?
Yeah.
I
Agreed.
think the Zillow conversation just gave context to what things mean in the industry and where we fall, but also it really helped us understand the necessity of knowing our value and being able to differentiate ourselves. One of the ahas that stood out to me was when he said, it used to be people did 90 to 95% referral and repeat business. And that number on the average has dropped into the 50s.
And I think there's probably two things with that, right? One,
Yeah.
I think that this Zillow thing is a gift, and which probably sounds incredibly weird, but that was the thing that made us all take a look at what are we doing as a business? What are we doing as a company and providing to our clients, right? Like, are we providing them, you know, everything they need from start to finish? Is that a smooth transition? Because someone else right now, AKA Zillow, is promising that to these clients. So are we doing that? So if we as agents didn't take a look and stop and say, how do I hone in on either my systems or how do I bring more value to my client?
Mhm.
Right? So that's a gift for us because we've been busy, running, right? I mean, businesses are growing and whatnot. But we kind of forget, like, we're not just working on that. We need to be working inside our business as well. How can we be getting better each and every day inside that business?
Yeah.
You know, I was in a leadership one where it said, build, train, and teach inside out, right? So that was a leadership piece. But I truly believe that's something that we as each individual agent can do. You build it, you train inside of it, and then you can teach, right? So what's the best way to learn? You teach it. So we're building our own foundation. We're going to train in that, even if we're a solo agent, and then go teach it to another
Mhm.
person. And I think, you know, then it can go into a bigger thing. You add an agent to your team, do the same thing inside out, keep doing it until you keep growing people within either a team or even within an office. I mean, that's the best gift of all.
Mhm.
Derek, what was your second aha? I just wanted to, I didn't want to like blaze over that first aha of yours, because I think there was more detail in that.
Thanks. Yeah. And clearly you're conscious that I have a 2 o'clock and I got to speak everything now. My other thing that I found, or that, at least that I connected with, was I felt like there was some further emphasis put on wealth building, and maybe it's just because I'm listening for it, and I'm like, you guys know it's my passion, and like my Raz is up, so anytime I hear it, I just gravitate toward it, and that's all I hear, because that's what happens to me. And I don't recall hearing Gary talk about creating passive income for ourselves all that much in the past. He has talked about profit share, right? Like that's always been like a piece of conversation, and yet I don't recall him having the type of discussion he had in one session with Jay. And then there was another session with Jay that was a master class that on wealth building that I thought was great, and I've listened to it like I think 5 or 6 times yesterday. And it's a session with Jay, a 20-minute class with Jay, and then followed by like a 20-minute session by Cody Gibson that I mean, I just thought was really outstanding and connected with me, and like relights the fire, right? So
So why did you listen to it 5 times? And I say this, I ask that question because I do the same thing. When something resonates, I want it to be like ingrained into my brain, right? So why did you
Right.
listen to it 5 times?
Because I get distracted. So like the first and second times I'm not hearing everything, because I'll like listen and then I won't listen, and then I'm like jotting stuff down or doodling or whatever. So like I just need to hear it over and over. And it took me that long to make the decision that I really did need to take the steps that Jay was talking about, to look at where we are, what is my actual personal or our personal monthly spending. And like, I don't know, I mean, we set it up 10 years ago that I pay myself a salary, and then my wife makes her salary, and that's what we live on, right? And then we vacation on some on like business profit and stuff, and like do other fun stuff, and yet that's it. And yet I didn't really know until I went back and looked, and we're still pretty much on that course. And yet I didn't know exactly what that number, I hadn't quantified exactly what that number is. We also then took the second step of figuring out what our actual passive income is. And Jay talked about figuring out your freedom number, which is the number that the amount of passive income that you need to make so that working is no longer mandatory for you to live your lifestyle. And obviously we have focused on our passive income and yet never knew exactly what that was or how it related to our personal expenses. And then take the next step and figure out what we can do to increase our number or decrease our other number to achieve freedom.
So let me ask you, how far are you from that number?
In dollars or time?
either one. So in regards to, that actual passive income being your freedom, it doesn't even have to be dollar amount. So if you know dollar
Right.
amount and what time,
Yeah,
when is the moment that you know that you're going to hit that, so that if you didn't have to work anymore, you didn't have to.
right. I figured out that we're probably somewhere like $4,000 to $5,000 a month away from being in that place, at the freedom point. And the other piece was that after laying out and figuring out, like, we spent the weekend figuring out different things that we could do that would positively impact our numbers. We put together a plan that is possible for us to hit that number by the end of this year. It's possible, right?
So am I hearing, and this is not saying that you're going to do that, right? But
Right.
by the end of this year, if you didn't have to actually work anymore, your passive income would replace your salary and your wife's salary.
Right.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Right. And the caveat.
Wait, guys, what did everybody just take from that? I mean, that's a huge, like, you just kind of, go over that, right? But I'm like, to be able to say that is amazing, right? So there's steps that you have taken, and obviously everything wasn't perfect, because you had a plan, but you somehow got there because that's what you were focusing on.
Right.
And until you refocused on it again, did you actually realize, like, we're almost there, right? And you've still already taken time and done things that you enjoyed. That's
Ask
incredible.
a quick question. Derek, when did you start this journey?
2010 was when we bought our first additional property.
So 11 years, not
Yeah.
even
So in
10 years.
11 years.
Yeah.
And Derek, do you remember what you told me 11, maybe 12 years ago? What your goal was? I see the face. What the
Right.
goal was for by the time you reached 40?
Right. Probably 10 properties.
A little
I
bit
don't know.
more than that, but your goal financially was that you would have enough property, passive income from your rentals, that you could, quote unquote, retire.
Yeah. Choose to work. Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. I do remember that. And that has been the goal all along. And didn't hit the 40, like by the time I was 40, and yet potentially by the time I'm 45, which would be pretty cool.
Okay, how many properties?
20
20
right now.
properties now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's you're averaging 2 a year. So you got 20 properties in 10 years.
Yeah.
Whoever's on here, if this is an investment thing that is anything on your radar, who wants to learn from Derek? Anybody? Like, because I'm like, I feel like that's pretty intriguing, right? And yet, does he have it figured out? Yes. I mean, he's there. And what did you just hear him say? He listened to someone else who is either one, doing it better potentially, so there's room for improvement, and there's room to hone in on his skill set, right? We don't ever stop learning. Like, we don't ever stop learning. And we, again, it's like those skill sets can get better and better every time we go to something. Or
Right.
if we're in a different mindset and we listen to something too, you could hear something completely different listening to the same exact presentation 2 different times.
Totally.
And Derek led us in a book study on the Blue Book,
Yeah.
Millionaire Real Estate Investor.
Yeah.
And that was invaluable.
It's
Maybe we
been
should
a,
revisit that, dust it off again.
I think the hearing different people talk about those things, and especially hearing Gary talk about it. And Gary has been financially free for a long time, admittedly so. And I guess I don't even know how much he works. I assume he works a lot. And he brought that up in the thing that his friends have been retired for a long time, and they're all out golfing and fishing and doing things that retired people are doing, and yet he's still chairman of the board Keller Williams or whatever, and is working every day to continue pushing KW forward. And it's because he's so passionate about real estate and creating wealth among realtors that's what he does, right? So and it's a choice.
Well, and I think there's something too about the choice piece is what if you didn't have the choice, right?
Right.
In this industry, we all are necessary, or most of us are necessary for our business and our salary, right? But what if, you know, and I'm not trying to go the wrong way on this, but I mean, last year hit hard, right? So what if something health came up that we didn't have the choice to be the one in this business anymore, right? Like, if you have that passive income and we have planned that out well enough, if something would happen, what would we have? Right? I mean, because I think a lot of us would be like, I don't know, right? Like, we don't know. So it's not even just the fact of having the choice to be able to do fun stuff. What would happen if something was out of your control? Do you have enough control over your business to make sure that you're still getting an income? You know, because I think we don't like to think about that piece.
My last aha from that was Jay also talked about figuring out what your freedom number is or your passive income goal is, and figuring out a plan to work toward that, and also figuring out a net worth goal that supports that freedom number goal. And the thing that I thought was interesting was I went back and established what I thought our current passive income is, and related that to our net worth. And he had said your net worth, or if you're planning it out, your net worth is going to be about 25 times what your passive income is. And conversely, if you went back and took, you know, a $10 million net worth and divide that by 25, that's $400,000 a year in passive income. And I was like, okay, well, that's interesting. And then I went back and I like did the math based on my numbers, and I'm like, oh, lo and behold, it's exactly that, basically. Like
numbers don't lie. Is that what you're saying, Derek?
well, yeah. And like, I mean, I know all the stuff that I've been doing is super special, and yet it's as special as being exactly what Jay says. And Jay works in a completely different market and does different stuff, and right, like, yet it actually ends up being exactly the same. So there's like the corollaries there. So
that's awesome. Anybody have questions regarding that, or kind of had ahas that are similar to Derek's? Or any other ahas that you guys wanted to chat about?
I mentioned this to Jim. When last year hit, I made the assumption, I think a lot of other people did too, that it was just going to be a terrible year. So I kind of like went the opposite way I should have. I just cut down on marketing. I started doing stuff. I have a few rental properties myself instead of hiring people to do it. And when I heard other people say, you know, what they did is they went out and distributed masks and, you know, helped people and wipes and all this stuff. They visited everybody and they had fantastic years. So my aha is, you know, how do I promote my business by not necessarily promoting my business, by just giving back, by talking to folks in ways that would enrich their lives. And in that way, have them remember me, hopefully, that I'm a realtor. Because every once in a while you will mention that you're a realtor, but they'll stop listening to you. They'll tune you out if all you're talking about is, do you have a home to sell?
Good
You know,
point.
I think a great one with that too. Thank you for sharing, Bill. Is getting a really clear understanding on how you want to help people, right? And I think it comes from a place of, you know, one,
All right.
what's going on with their life, right? Like, I mean, we did care calls over Thanksgiving, And it was,
No,
you
I don't
know,
show up to closing.
how are the kids or whatever. Hold on, I'm gonna mute him. There. And you know, the other piece is my vendors, right? Who called their vendors last year or this year and are like, what's your goal this year? Right? Because I think a lot of our vendors don't have goals either. You know, it's like, I just want to be successful and I want to make money. How can we help them? Right? Because that's where the referrals are actually going to come in, is how can you help them?
I'm sending them business. I'm sending them leads.
Yeah,
Come
but
back.
also it might be deeper than that, right? It might be like, you know what? I don't even know where to start. I don't know how to connect. I don't know what venues are right, you know? And are we telling new agents? Are we telling agents that don't have them like, hey, this is a really great vendor. I don't know if you guys have an electrician, but this guy's fantastic, right? Because I think we come from this place, and we talked about this in the other mastermind, this place of scarcity. If I give out my contractors, they're not going to have time for me anymore. No, that's not necessarily true. Let's teach them how to grow their business so that they can be successful and they can have a freedom number and, you know, get them to where they want to be. Right. So if they get so busy they can't have a one-man shop anymore, what if they need an admin? What if they need another contractor, you know, an apprentice?
Mhm.
Help be that person for them, right? Like
Yeah.
that's also part of real estate.
Yep.
Yeah.
Heather, did you have something? You had something as well?
I was just I was thinking of like the smart plan, all the email and touches like that, how much they had said hyper local and hyper personalized real estate information. Make sure you're sending out good stuff that matters to them. Each person, know what that person wants to hear and what they're looking for, and take really send them good information for their neighborhood or the neighborhood they're interested in, is how you're going to keep them watching those automated plans, keep them subscribing. That was just the two words that I really liked: hyper local and hyper personalized real estate information to your database.
Hey, Maureen, if you can jump on here, tell them the story about the response you've had to people from people who you've put on those plans and how they're engaging.
Did you say Maureen?
Yes, you, darling.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. So, no, I have a lot of people on the neighborhood smart plan. In fact, most of the people in my database are on that. And I've been to hockey games and things where people have come up to me and said, can you add more surrounding neighborhoods? I really enjoy getting that email. It's really interesting. Thank you for sending that to me. And so that kind of turned into a lot of people coming up to me saying, did you see this house that came on the market? When can you show me that? And it starts getting people thinking about, possibly wanting to list down the road and possibly wanting something else down the road too. And then thinking of me when they think that way, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, and Maureen, you've also done some of the local business stuff too. So when I was thinking of when Bill just said that, just, if you want to be present and be helpful on a larger scale, right, is how do you create opportunities or rave about other businesses that are in the neighborhoods that you're working? Right? Like, hey, I went to eat here, or, create a partnership with them of one night giving back to something. I mean, again, this business is so relational, not just with clients, but with other businesses in the areas that you work. Right. And that's a win-win for everybody. You're now getting their sphere, you're helping their business. And you've kind of done that as well.
yeah, I've always been kind of promoting other businesses and places to go and other areas around here. And then I just did a local ladies night with Danielle in downtown Mound. And what really surprised me was I went into the Hope Chest one day just to shop, and they stopped me and said they wanted to give a donation to our event. And I had not even thought of asking them for that because they're a nonprofit themselves. And the lady stopped me in the store and she said, hey, aren't you the Maureen that's been helping the community? And I'm like, what? oh, yeah, I guess, and she said, I've been seeing all your stuff and we're going to put a basket together. And they not only put a huge basket together for the event, they came to the event, had a picture taken with Danielle and I, and just raved about what we were doing. So I have to hope that I remember Jim saying this in one of our classes, that you're planting seeds that will eventually grow, right? I have to remember as a new agent that might not turn into immediate business right now. That could turn into business down the road. So,
But as humans, who do we want to help, right? We want to help people that are, helpers themselves, people that care, and people that, are kind of showing that type of, hey, this isn't about me, right? So when you think of that and you think of referrals, they now know you as the person that's helping the community. And what's the next thing? You know what? And guess what? If you ever need anybody, just let me know, right? Because that's not what they're going to connect you to. It doesn't even have to be the script of who do you know, but I love helping this community, and I love it so much that I actually got into real estate, right? And I want to help the community even more. Like
Right.
that, it's an easy kind of flow into that.
right.
Jim
Awesome.
knows that I knock on doors in my neighborhood all the time because I can't stand it if I see somebody else's sign across the street. That would just drive me crazy. I mean, it's happened, but at least I know I tried.
Yeah.
But so I knock on all the doors in my neighborhood, and one of the things I always end with is that, I'm a neighbor around here. I like helping my neighbors out. We use a lot of professionals. We've weeded through them. If you want to use me as an informal neighborhood Angie's List, if you need anything at all, a painter, electrician, plumber, give me a call. I'll let you know who we recommend, that we put our reputation on the line when we recommend, we get nothing for it. And I walked around my neighborhood. I probably gave the handyman's name out, the electrician's name out, and the plumber's name out over and over and over again. And I hope those people keep my card too, So like what you said, help the vendors out. And one of those handymen just referred my name to somebody else.
And some of you who might not know Bill, you're the #1 agent in your zip code.
Right.
In the area that you're in. So, when they think of someone, they think of you, for that reason.
Yeah. I really feel like, I did the neighborhood thing where they talk about farming. And I really do think that you just got to be out there all the time. Promoting real estate is like fishing. If you don't cast your line, the fish isn't going to come and jump in your boat.
Yeah.
So if you're not casting your line all the
Bill!
time, you're not going to catch any fish. You can't just, let me see. I knocked on my neighbor's doors once. That's one cast. You're lucky if you get them, but if you keep casting, you're going to get them. But the minute you stop casting, I really don't have any faith that anybody is going to remember me, regardless of how many homes I sold. I know that. I didn't even know that actually before I looked it up. So that's how I look at it. You just got to keep going out.
It's kind of like, it's really musky fishing. It's like the 1,000 casts for maybe one bite, right?
It really is.
And first of all, did Jim tell you I was a fisher person? Because I'm like, Bill, how'd you come up with the fishing analogy? No, but I think that's so true. And I think to that point, it has to be a passion, right? Because if it's not a passion and you don't really truly have bought into your own vision as someone that can help, or when you're fishing, right? If you don't like doing that, that's just going to be annoying, right? The 1,000 casts are just going to be annoying. If you have the passion and know that you're the right person to help your neighborhood or those clients, it becomes easier, right? To go do the activities.
Right.
And that's totally a mindset thing with it, is keep doing it and keep refreshing your mindset on why you're doing it.
And Bill,
Right, so
finish the story. Finish the story about why you prefer door knocking. You're a bold graduate. What did you discover?
Well, I did. I was trying to hit the 100 number. I'm like, I'm never going to hit this. But I actually started because when the real estate crash hit, I was actually doing land development and I had a real estate license and no clients. And so it was 5 degrees and I was out door knocking. But I just like to meet people face to face. I hate getting cold calls. I hate cold calling people. And I have just a way of getting people to open up when I see them face to face. And now I walk through my neighborhood and actually walk down the street, people know me. That's a great feeling. So over time, it just works. I door knock around and even if you don't find somebody who's looking to sell that year, they're in the database. 2, 3 years, I write that down. They're on my mailing list. They're getting Christmas wreaths. And so right now the beauty of it is people are having a real hard time getting listings, but I've built up the relationship with the people who are going to sell this year to the point where most of them I won't compete with other realtors with at all because they've known me for so long.
You added the value. I mean, that comes back to the first kind of aha is you have added the value to them. You've given them the knowledge, right? You've kept them informed, and they know that when the time comes, you're going to get them from A to B in a smooth line and a smooth transaction, right? Like they know that the vendors, what you're doing, and they feel confident in the value that you've kind of told them that you have.
Yeah, they're not going to use Zillow. They're not
Nope.
going to call Zillow up. They're not going to go for sale by owner. They're not going to call some cut rate place. They're going to call me.
And if they did, right? If they did, I truly believe that you would have the confidence to have that conversation to ask them, why? Why? What would make you want to choose Zillow, right? And be able to get them to realize why you have more value.
Right.
Awesome. Anybody else want to share any ahas? Okay, if you guys don't, I have one more. And I think it was from the luxury event. I went on to that, not necessarily for luxury itself, but I wanted to see what the customer service piece was. Because what I find is in any luxury mastermind, it's always about customer service. Why? Because in everyone's opinion, someone that buys luxury needs more hand-holding. In real estate, I truly don't believe that's the case, right? However, there is a higher level of service usually, right? Like you go from one, car shop to, whatever it is. And there's a higher level of service. They get you your coffee, they have free, breakfast, whatever it is. In that one that I think is so smart is we all talk about that constant contact prior to them going into the contract. How many of us have that constant contact from the moment they're signed as a buyer or a listing to the moment that they closed? And I'm not saying, do we have a process in place? Because I know we probably all have a process in place, but what does that 8x8 look like, right? And I think we've all, heard different pieces to that of when the offer is accepted, we obviously have an email to them. But what would that look like if afterwards, we have in our world at KW, it's called a SMART plan, right? So what if we had or in constant contact, it would be a drip campaign to get sent out immediately after that with something. What if it was something small, but just like, hey, congratulations on accepting, getting an accepted offer. Awesome. Congratulations. And if it's an email, great. If it's a small gift, awesome. And, we're through the inspection. Here's the next steps, right? We do that via email, usually kind of just in normal conversation. But what if it was automated, where it was just an extra step, even after your personal email? What would that feel like to a client? Right? It would feel seamless.
Mhm. Yeah, and because they don't do this every day,
Nope.
preparing them, here's what you can expect over the next week or the next 2 weeks.
Yeah. And like, hey, you know what? Send an email. Today's the day that you should probably change your utilities. Not us sending that out. Let's have that scheduled, right? So it just gets automatically sent out. Here's the contact information for that.
Yeah. Floyd Wickman had a program years ago. And what you're referring to is what he called a safe island. It's kind of like when you go to the doctor and you're going to have a medical procedure. and they go through all the different steps. You're going to do this, you're going to check in here, da, 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 da. So when you walk in that day for the procedure, you know what to expect, and it takes the fear out of it because
And
you
it's,
know
yeah,
what's going to happen next.
it's an 8x8 for your client during the transaction, right? So
Sure.
what are those 8 defining moments in that transaction? And are we making them actual defining moments?
Yeah.
Because I think
Yeah.
during that process, which is a huge process, usually a ton of money, and there is so much emotional kind of therapy that goes on during that, that if we defined those 8 moments, what would our clients actually say when we ask them for a review?
Yep.
I mean, I know that when I had an agent prior to getting into this business, that was not what I got. Right? It was like, I knew we were going to go look at a house. I knew we wrote a contract, wasn't even really sure how I got an inspector or what that even looked like. Right? And then all of a sudden, the next thing I know, I was giving information and I closed. You know, really think about what was that like when you did it, or kind of put yourself in that situation. You know, for me, I kind of looked at that in I was thinking, okay, what would those moments be? You know, like how would I actually, what would they look like? You know, and what moments would I think are worth those 8 defining moments? Listing signed, buyer rep signed, right? What about going live, right? You're live. Let's do something fun for that. You know, this is what that means. Now everyone can see this is how we're going to prep you. Offer accepted, inspection pending, appraisal, clear to close, and then close. Right? And that last one could be afterwards, a month after. Hey, what happens? You know, how are you enjoying your house? Let me know if you need anything. You know, this part moving forward. So 7 defining moments during the transaction, and that 8th one really hitting home a month later.
I bet you're more likely to get more referrals right after the transaction, right after such a positive transaction, when it's on their mind and they're in their new house and they're loving it. I bet they're really thinking of a lot more referrals.
Mhm.
Because no matter
Yeah.
how hard that transaction is, if you do that, they don't know all the other stuff. They're happy, they feel special, and they're in a house, or they sold their house, right? Like, goal was met.
I heard a story about one of the best car salesmen ever, and they asked him how he was so successful. It was his focus actually after the sale that made him a successful car salesman. And
Yeah.
they're like, wow.
Mhm.
So
When
'Cause
was the last time you heard from your salesperson, your car salesperson?
I hear from mine every single month.
Do you?
I'm
Yep.
hoping to get her a house.
No. I hear from mine every month, and you want to know why? It's like, hey, it's an automated text. I don't even think it's him, right? Doesn't matter. Like, for me, that doesn't matter because I know I'm not buying a car every month. But what does matter is I see his name come up. And then like every 3 months, it's like, hey, don't forget to get your oil changed. You know, book with BMW, like get it, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm like, oh yeah, I should probably look at that, right? Because again, I would run my car until it tells me the engine light's on, and then I'd run it more. For sure. Like,
Oh,
that's
you're
just
one of
me,
those.
right? Like, that's just I'm just like, that's not my thing. But he'll text, and then I'll be like, oh, you're right. And then sometimes I'll text him, I'll be like, hey, can you just put it in the schedule? He'll actually put the appointment in for me. That's just it made it easy for me, right? Like, he made it easy because that's something I didn't need on my list. I mean, I did, but I just didn't want to put it on there.
I thought of 2 more aha moments dealing with scarcity in the market. One was, instead of writing the letter, they had their buyers put together a video. And I thought that's a way to make your deal stand out and really connect with the seller. So I thought that was really good. And the other thing that's actually getting harder right now is to price properties, especially when there's so few homes out there. That means so few comps. And so, you know, I always take a look at things the day before. And on the pending sales, what this guy did is he called up those agents and said, I know you can't tell me what the price was, but can you tell me how many offers you got? Because if it's a similar listing and they got 10 offers. He knows there are 9 buyers out there that are going to be looking at their house the following weekend.
That's smart.
So it's a great way to judge demand. So I thought those 2 things were really key. I thought that was interesting.
Mhm.
I saw my first video the other day, and it was, instead of then the letter, it actually had the reasons they liked the house, you know, and it kind of, it was very different. And you're right, it stood out by, I mean, you know, you get letter after letter, right? And it's like, if you're high D, like I am, I'm like, what are the first 3 lines? Right? And then I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But if it was something that was intriguing that I could watch and that actually like brings emotion to you, right? Absolutely, hands down, stands out versus anything else. Awesome. Well, I want to be conscious of time so that we can wrap up. Anything else that anybody has questions on, comments, or something out of those ahas that you'd like to see in the future talked about, or a class? We just covered it all, and you guys are, I guess then
Well,
my,
that's like-
then in regards to anyone that didn't, or is still on here, what's one thing, and you don't have to say it, but write it in the chat. Moving from today forward, what is one thing you're going to implement into your business this week?
I already wrote it down.
And if anybody wants to share, go for it. I'd love to hear it.
Mine's the Facebook ads.
Okay.
Mine, I was looking at wealth building and I was going to revisit my expenses.
Okay.
Mhm.
Which, by the way, Heather did that immediately after one of the other wealth building classes. And I'm talking immediately. I'm talking like it wasn't even done yet. And she had her car insurance person on the phone.
I did.
But really, I asked that question to take it to heart, right? Because these are really great sessions and education is awesome. But if we don't take it and implement it, there's no reason to, you know, I mean, you have to put something into play, and don't be overwhelmed with putting a million things. Think of the one thing this week to put into play. And I'd love to hear what it is.
That was like, I think Maureen with those, with the neighborhood nurtures. Great thing to talk to Jacob about. Super easy to set up neighborhood nurtures. I think, like, as Maureen said, that hyper local, hyper personalized, that goes to your whole database about their neighborhood.
Mhm.
Easy, and they love it.
And if anybody has any questions, or, you know, just wants to talk about plan, email me, come knock on the door, send me a text message, because I'd love to talk about that. My reason for being in this role is to help you grow your business. So in whatever way that I can do that, have the full confidence that I'm going to do it. I'm going to help you find the way. So I'm here. Let me know if you need anything.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right.
for arranging
Bye,
this.
guys.
Okay, see you later. See you, Bill.